blazing black dragons, so named for resembling both lightning and darkness. They mercilessly tear apart whoever touches their sharp scales. Elementally unstable, their actions can affect the very weather. Living natural disasters.
Get yours in Iceborne today!
Hello, my fellow hunters, and Alatreon is Alatreon his way! Finally, a black dragon, a first-class dangerous monster, one of the three that make up that proud, powerful, godlike group, is finally descending on the new world. And ho, what a one they have chosen! He who commands 4 elements at once.
Water, earth, fire, air.
He who causes apocalyptic weather to descend upon all around him by simply existing. He could be as calm as you like, peacefully sleeping, yet the space around him would be torn to shreds with hailstorm the size of boulders, earthquakes racking the very land, lightning cascading over the sky, striking all in its path, the very landscape boiling under the pressure, the power of this near godlike creature. In fact, there is a lot of hearsay, a lot of folk stories, a lot of rumors that you whisper to your children at night when you want them to behave. And that is that Alatreon is a god or a demon transformed into an elder dragon and is capable of destroying the entire world! Which is, a tad hyperbolic, but undeniably he is, well, tied the strongest monster to ever exist, along with Dire Moralis and Fatalis. Now, Fatalis is first amongst them, but make no mistake, Alatreon versus him would be a titanic battle. The other black dragons are the only monsters that are somewhat immune from Fatalis's otherworldly aura of dread that causes the very bones of you to scream in terror as you are compelled to get as far away as possible. So then, Alatreon, the 4 elements at his command are lightning, ice, fire, and dragon, because again, nobody really cares about water.
Excuse me?
But before we get a little bit too deep into how he's actually producing and utilizing this deadly arsenal, let's talk about Alatreon himself, alright? What makes him tick? What does he want? What's he all about? Well, he is all about being alone. He hates other creatures, other life. Not because he's worried about them, no, he could so much as look at them and they'd have a heart attack and fall over for him. Basically, Alatreon lives by the code that if they be breathing, he wish they be leaving. And I can, really respect that. It's a code I've been living by for the last 10 years, I'm doing fine! And some Alatreon will take this to the level of extremes where they will make their home at the bottom of the ocean. They will wander along the ocean floor, withstanding the crushing pressure because their scales are just that tough, and then they are happy because there's nothing anywhere in the huge, deep, dark expanse of the deepest sea. And you just have to respect something that goes to that lengths to not have to meet anything else that moves, despite the fact he can annihilate everything else that moves in a second. So, Alatreon then is quite the chunky boy, but his Iceborne incarnation, well, there's only one word for it. He is thick, and I am a little bit confused at this. I don't think he looks bad. Not bad per se, but he has definitely seen some changes. Even if we just have a little bit of a comparison between wing shape, he used to have this almost V look to him, whereas we see him in a very similar position in his new just absolutely sexy ultimate attack, and we'll get to that. And his wings have got much more of an L-shaped curve to them, and they also attach much higher up his body. His tail has also had a little bit of a redesign. I don't know what that is at the end of it, but it kind of freaks me out. It looks like it almost can open and close like a little crab claw, like a fleshy crab claw, like... And it unnerves me, but maybe I'm just reading into that. Like, I'll be honest, he looks fantastic, he really does. Although, again, his head is really tiny compared to the rest of his body here. This render is really weird to me, despite how generally, yeah, Black Dragon badass he looks. And I do wonder if these physical differences between the one that we're gonna fight in Iceborne and the one that we fought in previous games is because the one in Iceborne is a lot older, a lot more mature, it's near the end, it's why it's come to the new world, the whole Elder Dragons come to die in the Rotten Vale thing, but for a Black Dragon finally, maybe this is how all Alatreon end up changing slightly, and wouldn't that be neat? So one thing that I think is very cool to note is that this render of him, the Black Dragon, is the mirror of the render of Safi, the Red Dragon, which is very interesting to add fuel to the speculatory fire that Red Dragons are as powerful as Black Dragons, they're just Red Dragons, and there might be an order of them as there is black, and that's very cool to imagine. Maybe we could go into other colours as well and start getting our Dungeons and Dragons full rainbow team of good old-fashioned dragons going. But let's home in back on how he actually is as a fight, because if I had to describe the experience of trying to hunt him in one word, it would be... So, he produces his elements in somewhat of a, well, baffling way. The guild very much doesn't understand it because it's kind of hard to go out there and, you know, capture a Black Dragon, which is an Elder Dragon, which isn't capturable, give them a proper, good, once-over investigation of their biology, and come to conclusions. It just doesn't happen. So at best, you have little field reports, notes, and whispers from the very select handful of hunters that have walked away from him, well, with still enough blood inside their bodies to be drawing breath, with enough limbs attached to, you know, still drag themselves away in some capacity. You know, the lucky ones. This, then, is the conundrum. His scales are what produces the elements. They are a boiling pot, unstable. They surge with dragon, with fire, with thunder, with ice, somewhat to the randomness and surprise of even Alatreon himself. He can't control it. Which mode he's in is maybe a pleasant surprise. Maybe he's fighting and he's hunting and he's like, oh, fire is not working right now. Ding! Ice! Ooh! And he's real happy about that. But the point is, he himself is unstable. The scales course him through with the elements, and he kind of just has to roll with it. And they constantly excess what he can hold, which is why him just existing causes his elements to spill out into the environment for miles around and cause this apocalyptic weather. He really is a walking natural disaster. They're not exaggerating. He tears the land asunder wherever he, you know, dares to exist. And this is interesting when it comes to the new world, because what effect is him being here going to have? Are they going to address that? They've been very good at addressing, well, little lore tidbits recently, especially of stuff like Furious Rajang having no tail, and we do see Alatreon is going to Safi'jiiva's nest. That's where we fight him, which adds, again, even further fuel to the Black Dragon, Red Dragon. How are they connected? Are they equal? Are they drawn to each other? Will Alatreon's presence there actually encourage the full black version of Safi'jiiva that we got in the teaser? Is that even a thing anymore? There is a lot of questions raised here, and the answers might be absolutely beyond exciting. But again, more specifically to Alatreon. His horn also is said to contribute to the channeling of his elements, but this is mostly assumed because that's the case with most Elder Dragons. Kirin's horn focuses the lightning, Teostra's crest focuses his flame, and so on and so forth. So, with Alatreon, when he's in dragon mode, he doesn't so much as expel it, as he uses it as an almost super steroid to enhance his physical capabilities, to make his muscles perform that much more efficiently, and he goes for you physically while charged up with dragon. Though in the trailer, there does seem to be dragons getting a little bit mixed in with his fire. There seems to be dragon energy in the air when he's doing his new super attack. He seems to really be leaning into it a lot more, and that's something we'll get onto in a moment. But with ice then, he just fires a huge freezing breath while soaring above you, or huge shards of it into the ground. Ice is also the source of his ultimate attack, and oh, the Black Dragon of Blazing Proportions ultimate attack. It's a very slow, overgrown hailstorm, and, you know, while bits of hail that big are you know, whoa, it's one of the least climactic big attacks going, especially on a monster, well, like Alatreon, which is why this is so exciting. But first, his fire mode, big plumes of fire erupt from the ground. His lightning mode is huge thunderous strikes of it, led by his mighty claw as he goes for you, and generally he does what you might expect with those elements, but what he never did was mix them, and that's something I've always said over and over. That's what he needs. Even if it's not just generally, his ultimate attack needs to be all the elements at once. The potential is there, and it would just be so purely badass to have this dragon firing 4 fucking elements at you at once. And what have we got now? At the very least, combinations of 2 in his general attacks. He has a dragon fire breath, for example, and then his ultimate attack seems to have all of them. The room crackles with normal lightning, then dragon lightning, then a fire explosion, then an ice explosion in the space of like a second. It's going to be so good! They have really got him amped up, and he's already a black dragon. Even just him in the sky firing huge meteor strikes of flame is looking phenomenal. To say he is upgraded is to absolutely sell him short. He is getting that World/Iceborne makeover, the likes that Lunastra got, that Safi'jiiva got, that Raging Bracky got most recently, and we should be incredibly very afraid. He has always hit like an absolute freight train. He has always been an absolute pain to hit back, swapping between the air and the ground, not even being flash bombable most of the time. You have to disable his aura, and it just leads to a fight that you have to work so hard to win at. And I, for one, am thinking that Alatreon is going to be one hell of a wall for a lot of people, especially a lot of people that perhaps haven't actually bumped into one so far in Iceborne. If there is anything that can be that, it is Black Dragon Alatreon, because the simple fact is, his old fight isn't the most convoluted. You can count the individual moves he has on your hands. It really is like 8, and he cycles through them very rigidly. Okay, now he's doing ice and this, now he's doing fire and this, now he's doing dragon and this, and he chains them together really well, and he chooses ones that really catch you off guard in your current situation, but he is very much almost monotonous in his approach, and that seems to have been done away with. He seems much more flexible now in his assault, and really the teaser just says us everything we need to. His scales, by the way, the ones producing the storm of elements, are also sharper than most blades, and if you so much as, fell against them, you would grate yourself. If your weapon isn't well made enough, well, it just shatters on contact. So, yeah, you have a think about that. This guy is just something elf. Also, taking a quick look at his new icon, I think it's really cool, don't get me wrong, but there is something appealing about just the pure question mark that they used to have, right? The sort of enigma of it. They're so dangerous and rare and impossible to study that it's just a question mark. And the new one kind of does look like a question mark, which is probably not accidental, but you know. So really, get very excited. Not only is one of the most interestingly designed monsters getting the Iceborne treatment, what it means for the lore implications with how he's connected to Safi, if he is, with red dragons, why he's in the nest, are they just reusing that, there's just something going on? Knowing the attention to detail Capcom puts in, I can only assume, well, there is a reasoning behind it, so, the storyline for him is just there's no way they're just gonna whack him in unceremoniously. He is a black dragon. He is a absolute critical red alert, all hands on deck. This is a crisis above crisis. Everything we've faced so far is a drop in the ocean compared to this threat. That is what black dragons are. So to see us go through the motion of trying to stop him, seeing the NPCs talk about him, it's just right? It's gonna be incredible, and I realize I'm kind of just going in circles now, but I could talk about this guy all day. I really, really could. The point is, get very, very, very hype. Not to mention the potential for his armor and weapons. I touched on it briefly in the initial reaction to him being confirmed, but what they can do in the design space when you have an element rotating monster, when we've seen that they're pushing the boat out with sets and what they can do, we have some fantastically interesting set bonuses in Iceborne. We have some really cool designed weapons and how they work. Just look at Safi'jiiva stuff. So I really am hoping for armor and weapons that incorporates reflex and lets you almost use that multi-elemental nature. Imagine if it cycles between elements on your weapons, or you get weapons that have fire and lightning on at the same time. So not just dual blades doing two elements at once, an element and a status, but your just general Alatreon weapons are hitting with multiple elements. That's just so exciting to see, but, well, see we will. Like, if you enjoyed this, let me know how much you're looking forward to him, what you think is gonna happen. I think we might be in for a real surprise reveal. That's what my gut's telling me. I think we're gonna have a real, oh, no moment. So, we'll see. But for now, a goodbye.
Rage Gaming with the video float.
But that's all that's really relevant at the mo, but I'm still gonna leave this up so you patrons know that I love you even though the outro's no longer that kind of relevant. But the new one's being worked on and it's gonna be a truly badass song, and don't worry, I won't be doing any rapping on it. I'm gonna go now. This was shit.